Hi, everyone. It's Cassandra Williamson coming to you from a holler in Eastern Kentucky. And this is an amazing place. I mean, there's really good people around here. I mean, absolutely good people here. Hardworking Americans, and people who like to take care of themselves and their families and those they care about, obviously. But right here in Pike County, which is right along Mingo County, West Virginia, uh, you know, it surprises most people that people can be respectful and decent human beings every time I go out into the community. And I go out a lot. But you know what the VA did recently? Secretary Collins of the VA? Well, he has green lighted a policy that will allow staff and providers to discriminate against employees that they don't like, veterans that they don't like or disagree with. It's just boggling of the mind to see these kind of things. You should have some boundaries and some kind of thing that says, maybe you should treat people respectfully, but Secretary Collins has just piled on to the discrimination. He's actually using the women in sports thing as a means to enforce this thing. And he's basically saying that if you have a different ideological perspective and somebody doesn't like that, they don't have to care for you, which is asinine. It's stupid. It's the VA. And if you happen to be a particular minority that they don't like, an American veteran that they don't happen to like or agree with, they don't have to care for you. Several VAs have already enacted this policy at their facilities. So it's just disgusting to me. And, I don't really understand the people who are doing this kind of thing. It doesn't make any sense why you would want to allow your staff to openly discriminate against people simply because they don't look like, sound like, believe like, or say things like you. These people are veterans. They served their country. It is bullshit, to put it bluntly, what they're doing. They're opening this thing up to allow discrimination writ large across the whole of the federal enterprise. They're starting in the VA. They're going after everything else they don't like. Bobby, what do you think about that?
Wow. That's kind of a quick hit off the block here. That one got me a little bit going here.
Yeah.
As a veteran, I'm totally appalled by it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I do want to jump in here with a little commercial break. The 4 drag queens and kings that showed up at the Kennedy Center have my absolute approval, and I applaud them greatly. And thank you. I wish I could give each one of you a hug individually. You got the message across.
Right.
So, but back to your other situation. First thing that comes to mind is what a wealth of opportunities, because you always got to remember abuse can go 2 different ways.
Yeah.
But secondly, I feel sorry for the veterans that don't speak up for themselves, who are afraid of what they're doing there.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to cause a lot of grief and misery, and it's going to be misinterpreted by a number of people. Mm-hmm. And it's going to cause nothing but problems.
Right. One of the big things that I harp on a lot, Mad Mouse, is that we need to be able to entertain ideas that we disagree with. It doesn't mean you discriminate against them. At least entertain that idea of something else out there that you may not have experienced or seen before or thought about. And for a party on the Republican side who is going around saying that they are pushing for meritocracy, they are pushing for ideological diversity, they're going about it kind of blatantly opposite to that. Everything they're doing is completely diametrically opposed to that mantra that I keep hearing over on X and different places, and the Fox News channel, and the Trump apologists that are there on Fox News on the 5. And I asked them today, I said, you know what an apologist is? Like the Civil War apologist, the Confederate apologist. They were trying to deflect from the problems of slavery and make it about states' rights. And indirectly, that might have been the case. But you know something? No, it was all about slavery. And right now we have Fox News with the five, with Jesse Waters, Greg Gutfeld, Dana Perino, and I'm going to exclude Harold Ford Jr. He's pretty cogent person. Seems to be reasonable. But and there's another person on there. I don't know her name right off. But anyway, today anyway. So it's just baffling to me that they would sit there and twist themselves into a contortionist Gordian knot of some kind and say that everything's all right. That Trump, you have to trust Trump. He knows what he's doing. When in fact, he's just shooting off the cuff. This is all extemporaneous. Everything he does is just kind of like, oh, we're going to do it that way. And by the way, give me a box of chicken over KFC. Yeah. And go through the Golden Gates to get there. What do you
Now,
think?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is that what he was doing last night when he was editing the photos of his crowd size of his parade?
Exactly right. I mean, it's propaganda. It is manipulating things to fit a narrative that he wants. Fox News with the five and all the different shows that are on there are bending over backwards to not say anything bad about Trump and kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. But we, the rest of us, we know who he is. We know what he's made of. We know that there's not a thing in his bones that you can trust, because one thing you know for certain is that when he makes a decision, he's made it like that, and he may change that idea just 5 seconds later. He has no moral compass. Nothing. Editing images of the parade to make it sound like or look like there were 250,000 people there at that parade on Saturday, when in fact we know that there might have been 10,000. Might have been 10,000. There were a lot of vacant places, and whenever that squeaky Sherman tank went through and you saw all the bleachers behind there and it had sparsely populated seats. Yeah, well, yeah, Mad Mouse.
3,000.
3,000? Oh, that's the number.
3,000. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
3,000. They've already estimated. I mean,
Yeah. Oh my God, that's just crazy.
All you're doing is saying things that we already knew quite a while back, because Project 2025 is quite straightforward about how this is going to run. And
Right.
I think, and here's the blessing, okay? And there is a blessing to all this. I think the American people are starting to say enough is enough is enough is enough. And I think they're starting to stand up, get some backbone. Some of the images I saw of Trump today looked pretty bad. I mean, you know, he looked pretty unhappy to me. And he's done things that are good. He's done things that are bad. But the question, and it's already too late to be asking this, do we want a king? Do we want an authoritarian dictator? What do we want as a country? And now is the time to stand up and answer that question.
Right. You're right. That's exactly what it's all about, is because we know who Trump ego and his personality requires him, actually demands of him, that he surround himself, and it says the connections. Okay, there's back up online. He surrounds himself with the gold and glittery things. He likes to think of himself as being, I don't know, God's gift to mankind and the king of the world, basically. And he may not say that out loud. He may not say that to anybody, but all you have to do is look with your eyes and see golden toilet, golden tower, golden shower. Golden office.
You must have been in my bathroom lately.
Have I missed?
Yeah, yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I had to say that. I like bling and glitter too, but I don't like screwing over my friends. And there's a whole bunch of people in red states that are fixing to find out they're going to need a lot of Vaseline. So what can I say?
That's true too. That's very true. But he's not afraid of that, though. I mean, he's been to Epstein Island.
Well, hide the sheep in the goats. That's all I can say.
Yeah, right. So the thing that really gets me is that he has projected exactly who he is out there. And you have the Fox News channel over there saying, no, they're apologizing for him and finding things to cover up for him. And, you know, he's got this golden office, this gold gilded office, the Oval Office. And the Qataris gave him a jet that the family owned, the royal family owned. You know, he wasn't going to turn that thing down. Jeez, it was a royal jet. It just fits right in with who he thinks of himself as.
Well,
And yet we have.
Sandra, I hate to interrupt you, but what I want to remind everybody, he's got a big, beautiful bill on the block that's going to add $2.4 trillion to the deficit. He's trying to cover that track all the way, but that bill has not passed yet.
Right, right. And that actually is something that should piss off everybody.
Well,
that it's adding that much to it. But the thing is, though, the reason, you know why it's adding that much to it? Because they're cutting safety net programs out for middle class and poor Americans. Yeah. And they got to make up the money somewhere. So they go, oh, wait a minute. We can just add this over here, make it look like, you know, we're saving money, but all we're doing is taking from the poor and giving it to the rich. That's all it amounts to.
Well, I can tell you who I'd be pissed off at this morning. Do the math. They just came out with the figures. That little parade cost $72 million. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that means each person that sat and watched that parade cost the American taxpayer $28,000. So when you pay your taxes, don't be unhappy.
Yeah, exactly. Now, look, I do want to say one thing, though, about the parade. I did thoroughly enjoy seeing the historical perspective of that parade and what was happening from the Revolutionary War, because the U.S. Army was created in 1775. And that back then it was the Continental Army. And so George Washington was running it, and fine gentleman. I know that he has mistakes and errors, and like everybody in his life, or whatever, you know. So we've got these people who are trying to hoodwink us into thinking that everything's going to be all right, but the deficit's climbing. The pressure on the poor people is increasing. Those in need are going to be feeling extreme pressure. And the VA, under Secretary Collins, is out here giving a green light to open discrimination. It's there.
I noticed another one this morning, too. They're going to do away with FEMA.
Yeah, yeah. He's been working on that for a while. Yeah. He's been after FEMA for a while now. He doesn't want to help anyone. He's trying to save the federal government money and all that kind of stuff. But in so doing, all he's doing is shifting the pile of money from one place to another. Who knows? Who knows where all this stuff is going? But it really is just disgusting to me what's going on in this country right now. And now, as I started to say a minute ago, the Army's birthday, fine, absolutely. I'm a veteran. Mad Mouse is a veteran, and we're all for celebrating our Army. But I will tell you, I was embarrassed a little bit about that. But then again, maybe it should be all right, because it maybe the stated goal was not to look like North Korea and Soviet Union, having goose-stepping soldiers going down the street. That could have been the optic they wanted to avoid, so they gave them leeway to be lazy in their marching. I don't know. That could have been a calculation that they went through. But yeah, I kind of think that might be true. They didn't want to look too much like North Korea. They wanted these soldiers to go out there and just kind of, when I was in the military, if you lollygag like that in the parade, woo, goodness, you would not see daylight for a long time.
I understand that 4 generals got in an argument with Donald after the parade. Oh. I haven't gotten an update yet about what it was about, but when 4 generals are arguing with him, there might be a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed. And I know a lot of other flag officers too have come out and made it very clear that they think that was a colossal disaster for that march and for that parade. And they are just people I read. They're opposed to this kind of stuff because it makes them look authoritarian. But let me just say this. I've talked about authoritarianism before. Trump comes by it honestly, because to run big businesses, to run any business, the leader has the final say in how that business is operated, including hiring and firing and doing whatever. It's the leader's choice to lead that thing from the front, to make the decisions, to silo all the people who might be trying to make other decisions. And if they're doing something you don't like, you get rid of them. He comes by it honestly, including even with the failed university. All right. But he comes by it honestly, because I've for a long time. I'm no longer in, well, I guess I am too. I've got Cassandra Williamson LLC here in Kentucky. But I've been in all kinds of businesses over the years, from real estate, construction, you name it. You name it. Newspapers, retail stores, restaurants, what else? Temporary personnel supply, a company that made sure the mining industry had people to work their jobs. So, I mean, I know what that is. I know how that comes about, but this country shouldn't be run that way. This country is designed to be representative of the people and not have a megalomaniac running it. But we had the same thing with Andrew Jackson. The newspapers of the day called him King Andrew. Believe it or not, New York Times, one of the papers in New York, called him King Andrew, because that's how he was behaving. He was putting his cousins and their uncles and aunts in offices around the federal government because, those are people he trusted. What do we have today? The same thing. Trump is using that Schedule F stuff he tried back in the first term and making lots and lots and lots of federal employees at-will employees. That's what he wants to do. He wants to replace them with, people who are sycophants. What do you say, Bobby?
Well, what I think at this point is people need to realize this isn't next week or next year. This is now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
President Trump is president of the United States. Yes, he's the CEO, the leader of our country. But he's forgotten one simple fact. He doesn't own this country, okay? We the people, veterans, housewives, welders, we're the people that own this country, and our voice is getting stronger every day. And I think the path forward, for what it's worth, is have the courage to stand up and say, wait a minute, this is our country. This is our right to be, okay? And this person that has weaseled his way in and is doing these horrible things, I think in the long run is going to pay a horrible price for what he's doing.
Yeah. Midterms are coming quickly. We see a rising tempo around the country of opposition to things that Trump's doing.
It's beyond boiling.
I know it's getting up there, and I've seen a lot of talking heads, different people on like Substack and different places like that where they write their commentaries. They're all talking about how this wave of the No Kings protest is starting to take fire and ignite the country. And I just want to make sure that if there's anyone out there who is protesting and they're out there doing things like that, yay for doing that, because that's definitely something that the Constitution guarantees you the right to do. But don't you dare do something that could draw attention to you specifically, like throwing a rock or throwing a brick or going out there and attacking police or even the military. Don't do that. Don't do it, because it will be used by the right against you and us, all of us, every single person in this country who agrees that this administration is an aberration, something that just we're stuck with for now, legitimately stuck with.
There's nothing that prevents you from going to a rally. There's nothing that prevents you from your voice being heard. I listened to a little quick thing about the drag performers that went to the Kennedy Center. They said they were terrified before they walked in. They got a standing ovation. They got a standing ovation. just for having the courage to walk in and be themselves. And I think if
That's
more
right.
people
That's
could do that, don't worry so much about what people want to call you. Learn how to be yourself. Learn how to be a positive person. No matter what's coming at you, learn how to say, look, we can turn this around. We can make it positive. We can make it good. That's where I'm coming
yeah.
from.
That's a good.
I can find all the misery you want to find. I can watch Fox News and be completely miserable. I'm not going to do it. I don't have time to waste on that. So it's your
Right.
choice. What do you want? This is our country, not Donald Trump's. What do the people want?
Right. And right now, about half and half. That's likely
I'm
going to
not so
change.
sure those numbers are quite current.
It may not be, but the election at least was about half and half, and they won. So we're kind of stuck with the mess that they brought
Or
us.
so they say.
So, yeah. So the path forward from all of this, folks, is to make sure you have a plan for whatever you're doing. Make sure that if you go out and protest, you take precautions and you keep your head on a swivel and you don't put yourself in some place where you can be harmed. Be aware that there are young, trigger-happy National Guard soldiers out there. All you have to do is just go back and look at Kent State in Ohio in 1970, when the National Guard shot and killed 4 students for protesting the war and wounded 9, 1 critically. So we know that this National Guard is what it's capable of. So take care of yourselves, watch out for each other, make sure you go vote when you have an opportunity to do so, make sure you're registered, do whatever you can to make sure that we can turn this country back around again in another year and a half or so during the midterms. And then after that, in 2028, we got to get this back under control. And usually that's what happens. So we just have to ride the waves out, folks.
I had a thought just go through my mind as you were sitting there talking. Veterans, Doug Collins. When is he going to wake up and realize without veterans, you wouldn't have what you have now? Our veterans gave us the country that we have. They fought, they gave their lives for it. And why these people think they can just throw away veterans or people that are a little less disadvantages, aunts, grandmothers, uncles, people that need food stamps. No, that's not the America I grew up in. Okay. We care about people. We care about preserving democracy. We're not out here to see whether we can buy a golden toilet.
Right. but, and we're also not asking people to not go out to the store and buy that extra doll that you'd like to have too for your kids.
Yay, I'm sorry I forgot the doll. Oh my God. I'll never hear the end of that.
Yeah. So if you've got somebody who out there actually looking to buy a yacht, make sure they've got at least 2 already. That way you can get it covered right, but don't you buy any more dolls for your kids. Anyway, let's call it a day, and we'll come back again tomorrow sometime around noon-ish, and then with the midday muster, and then we'll go tomorrow evening again with the path forward. Come on back, folks. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening and watching and supporting.
Thank you.